So this is Phantom Electric Ghost, and we're live from our home studio. And what we tried to do earlier, and we screwed up, was we had a podcast, and we had our Q8 camera that you're looking at me right now in this camera, and we didn't have the audio signal coming from that. When it's supposed to be coming from the mic, it was pulling from there, and we didn't have the mic on. So what we're doing here is we're going to have a demonstration of our Akai Force using Arranger mode in a DAWless type of production. We're working on this album called Ascendant LOVE. And what we're going to get into is the fact that we've got a grandmother, an analog Moog, connected to an Akai Force. And we did it in Arranger mode. We've got like an original composition. We're going to run the original composition, and then we're going to actually go into a video of the final version of it. It's part of this project called Ascendant LOVE. Earlier this year we did an album called Ascending into Darling Mode, which basically the concept was, instead of falling in love, you ascend into love, because you find your partner and they don't bring you down, they bring you up, and you both ascend into love together. It's kind of this magical thing. And it was kind of strange because the inspiration it was a kind of a bad situation. I got kind of catfished in a way. I got tricked online, and I fell in love with this girl. It wasn't even a real person, and created a whole record thinking that she was real. But it took the whole idea of this ascending into love. It actually became a very positive thing in terms of the music. And so this other situation is that we've got this new crush that we're writing about, and her name's Sophie, and we are really, really ascending into love, into this darling mode idea. And so we have this new song that we did, Sophie Baby. We're going to play the original tracks and maybe scat a couple of the vocals, not the same as what the original was going to be. So we're going to get into that right now. Sophie baby, wanna kiss you, hug you, French kiss you. That's all we can do. Send darling with you. Get me rude. All purple, black and blue. Things we do make me purple, black and blue. Sophie, baby, wanna kiss you, hug you. So baby, wanna kiss you, cuddle with you, every pay you. Sophie baby, wanna kiss you, hug you, feel kiss you. That we do. We got purple, black, and blue. That's that LOVE. Sophie, baby, wanna kiss you, cuddle you, every pet true. The things that we do got me black and blue. Tune. Baby, I wanna cuddle with you. Wanna every pet French kiss you. Sophie, baby, wanna kiss you. Every pet true. Come on now through. My darling, darling, my darling, we got black and blue. Baby, I wanna kiss you, cuddle with you, happy pay truth. Things we do, you got my black and blue. It's all the truth. Baby, wanna kiss you, cuddle with you, every page. So baby, wanna kiss you, every page, every page. Sophie, baby, wanna kiss you, cuddle with you, every page, French kiss. You know, your lips know what I want to with you. French kiss you, cuddle with you, pet you. Baby, wanna kiss you, cuddle with you, I think the heavy pad true. Wanna cuddle with you, French kiss you, until we get the naked truth. With the things that we do, I'm like black and blue, leaves not lose, 'cause it's all got what we do. It's not cool, 'cause it's exactly what I want to do with you. All brand new things two in love wanna do. Yeah, it's not all brand new. Got me all black and blue. It's not true. Exactly what we wanna do. Baby, wanna kiss you, cuddle you, every bad truth. Things that we do, got my black and Sophie, baby, wanna kiss you, wanna cuddle with you, wanna have it bad truth. Things we do got black and blue. But that's not cool, 'cause it's exactly what we wanna do. It's not cool, 'cause it's exactly what we wanna do. Sophie, baby, wanna melt with you, have it bad truth. French kiss you, darling, it's all that we can do. It's all we can. It's all we can do. Baby, wanna cuddle with you, every pet you, French kiss you. I know I'm your dude. To kiss you, to cuddle with you, every patch. And so that's an example of using our Akai Force in arranger mode with this Moog Grandmother and kind of freeforming, but we have a structure of the song that we wrote, and we kind of just freeformed the lyrics. It's not exactly what the original song is. So we're actually going to go into the original song and bring that up. And this is part of a project called Ascendant LOVE, and we're going to bring up that YouTube video playlist for some of the songs that we've created for this project. And we're going to bring it up, and we're going to go see which ones we want to play first. I think I wanted to play Sophie Baby, so we're going to try to play that one first. We're going to move the order and actually play Sophie Baby. And this song is really yeah, it's just a feeling. Like we really, it kind of came out of nowhere, and we like to do stream of consciousness, but if you look at the length of the song, it's only 3 minutes, and it's typically not what we do. We typically don't do 3-minute songs, but part of the cool thing about the Akai Force is it's gotten us to tighten up some of our songcraft. And for this album, we've got, 3 and 5 minute, 4 minute songs. We do have our obligatory long song called L. I will do my best to make this right, and we'll talk more about that later. But we're going to get into the actual full version that's going to be on this album. We actually created a video for it, and we're going to get into it right now. Once we start it.
Sophie, baby, wanna kiss you, cuddle with you, heavy baby. Sophie, baby, wanna kiss.
That's not good when it doesn't want to play. Let's find it and start it again. Don't know what's going on with that.
Sophie, baby, wanna kiss you, cuddle with you, heavy baby. Sophie, baby, wanna kiss you, heavy baby. First kiss you, because the things that we do, you're my orgasmic metaphor, deja vu. You're my orgasmic metaphor, deja vu. Sophie, baby, wanna kiss you, cuddle with you, happy pay you. Sophie, baby, wanna kiss you, cuddle with you, happy pay you. Yeah, it's a purple baby, 'cause of the things that we do is not really deep. So what will you do? My dick's blue, black and blue.
So that was Sophie, and we're going to pause it now and get back to talking about the rest of the project. So in this project, the primary motivator is a couple of new pieces of gear that kind of helped our process. Previously, across the other side of the room, people have seen the Ghost since 2016 using like a Juno and a Mother 32 and we're using a DFAM, and we got System 1M, and it's just a kind of combination of all this hardware. And we tended to do a kind of heavy rock focus with like synthesized guitar and real elaborate, long, 9-minute, 10, 15-minute songs. Kind of from a progressive rock, kind of funkadelic kind of perspective. Here, because we've got the tool of using the Akai Force, what's cool about the Akai Force is the fact that what it does is it allows you to record in the same way we did it across the room, on our R24. We can actually go in and use the pads to kick off all kinds of interesting stuff. Like right now, we have these pads controlling a grandmother, and it's based on whatever the settings are on the physical on the grandmother. So I'm using the cutoff knob, and I can get into the goodness of a Moog. Like I said, I can use the keyboard. I can go on to the pads. And what's cool about using the pads, like now I'm actually able to write a track onto the Akai Force and make an audio track with the grandmother. And you can hear, you can't really get sounds like that out of anything but like a grandmother with a spring reverb. And sweeping the low pass filter. Or using a sample and hold. Or engaging a high pass filter through CV. And using the 10 inverters to do all kinds of interesting things. So that what's cool about that is now I got the best of all worlds. I got the fact that I got a modern workflow machine that kind of can do like a computerless DAW with the analog goodness of a Moog, and I can integrate that into a song. And with the arranger mode, I can kind of just wing it. I mean, I can just free-form play it like I'm playing like directly to tape. And I really love that because you can just set an audio track, don't put a time limit on it, do it open length, don't do it, and do like a non-fixed length audio track tied to the MIDI. We're using USB MIDI right now, using a 1/4 inch line into the Akai Force. And one thing you have to do is you have to actually take the audio track and make it blank. Don't actually put an audio track with a length on it. Totally leave the matrix on the unit. When you go to the audio track, there's nothing there. And you say, well, but it actually, when you record it, it will be there, but you don't physically see it, which is kind of this weird quirk. Because you're like, first I thought you had to do it, and it would never record it if you actually put it in there. So that's a learning curve. But Once you did that, then you can get into arranger mode. And in arranger mode, you basically can see these grids. And what we do is we use the clip-based method. And arranger mode is what's great for is like you could bring 8 clips you set up, and then you could do clip 1 and then do clip 4 and then go back to 2 and then go back to 6 and then go back to 8, and then you could do a song for like 5-6 minutes like that. And that gives you a lot of power. And then not only can you just move the clips around, you can actually play the keyboard. So you could add Moog parts as you feel like it, or any other synth that's in here that's active, like this one, or anything else that's like turned on. And so based on whatever you've got set, you can trigger it and then overdub into something that was already set up. So you could have an arrangement already set up and then play into it with the pads. And I think that's brilliant. It lets you do a lot of stuff that normally, like as a DAWless musician, that's kind of what I like to do. And so this becomes like the greatest kind of hub that you ever had, because in 3.11 you can link it to an audio interface. We've actually got it connected to an L8. We're podcasting with it right now, so you can hear it. So then what can happen is you can do a live performance like we just did and go over the air, which is really cool. And then you can play the Moog too, so you can actually play with over here. And when you're on the grid, what's different is like the keyboard is laid out like a standard keyboard, but once you're on the grid, you could introduce notes that you normally couldn't reach, on your keyboard, because of the way the grid is set up. And you can set up into different types of things like tonits and chords and like a bass, like a piano, different things like that. So it just gave us a new inspiration how to write. And we like to write, like we said, we like to write in this kind of expansive sense of doing stream of consciousness stuff. But now, you don't have to lose anything. You got the analog goodness of this Moog. We've got the CV on here. We actually engage which is not normal in the path, the high pass filter. We engage the sample and hold circuit. We're using a little bit of spring reverb, and that's an actual spring reverb. And so you get a real kind of honesty in the Moog sound. But we're also using some cool stuff here because, there's plugins you can get. We're actually using a Mellotron plugin on some of the songs. We're using an ARP Odyssey on other ones. And that's just really cool. And then we've actually even had some Korg Kronos guitars that we have. So there's a lot of cool stuff that you can do that, you take the best of digital and you take the best of analog and you kind of mix them together. And so in this project, the idea is to continue what we did with ascending into darling mode and have basically the whole focus of this album is on our crush, Sophie, who is our total love interest in a real way. And every song on this album is about her, about how I'm feeling toward her. And that's what this whole project is about. And so we're going to play another song. We're going to actually go into the YouTube version of the song. And so let's play the next YouTube video. We're going to bring it up. Yeah, let's try to bring it up. Okay, so the next song we're going to play is what's on the playlist from the YouTube video. We're going to get into the next track. It's called Sophie, the Pleasure of Doing Thee.
Sophie, spread eagle on the bamboo sheet. Sophie, take good care, Sophie, spread eagle on the bamboo sheet. Sophie, calling like a ping pong, deep. Sophie, spread eagle Sophie, don't close your eyes. You said you did. Take good care of me. Sophie, Sophie, steady on bamboo. Sophie, take care of me. Don't dare close up your knee. One go pink condenser, deep. Don't leave. One go pink condenser, down. Sophie, it's ready, go on. Sophie, you're just for me. So dripping with bamboo shit. Don't dare come down. Said you take good care of me. Sophie, I'm freaking out. Pink tongue. Sophie, I'm a freak going down. Sophie, it's Sophie, it's all that for me. Ready go on pink tongue. Yeah, all that sweet is for me. If you've been wet on bamboo, all that's for me. Straight on bamboo, she. Don't dare close your knees. You know I'm a freak. Don't you dare close your knees. Ready go on bamboo shit. Sophie, never come down deep. Sophie, go freezing. You know it's gonna be dirty wet sheets. Yeah, the maid ain't gonna have nothing on you or me. All that pink tongue deep, condenser, maid like us to see. Because we go down pink condenser deep. The maids ain't gonna like what they see. We're going pink condenser deep. Bamboo sheets and bamboo sheets. X-ray over me. Sophie, it's ready go on bam. Make sure they got nothing to do with me. X-ray, let that be. Sophie, baby for me. We on bamboo sheets. Make sure they ain't got nothing on us to see. And we know we're some freaks. Sophie, ready, go on bamboo. Sophie, made for me. I want to do it. Sophie, made for me. Go down, make everything better on you and me. Get it all we need. Get it all.
So maid service don't got nothing on you and me. That's Sophie doing me. And let's get back into the main program. So, like we've been talking about, is using all this gear to actually do something with our music that we find expressive. And we're a DAWless producer. What was that? Well, DAW is a digital audio workstation. We've always tried to work in with hardware recorders. Because when we have something like this Moog and we've got all these CV settings and we do all this work to get it to sound a certain way, one of the things you don't want to happen is for your sound to be compressed or not exactly what you need. So what we've always liked is to actually use Tascams or Zooms to capture our material, and then also not be constrained by any kind of controls within a DAW that don't let us have the sound that what we hear is what we want to get. And so what we liked about the Akai Force is it allows you to actually play it like an instrument, like a synth. In a lot of ways, the pads on here are like the keyboard on the Grandmother, in that you can express yourself. And then the fact that it has this now this arranger mode that you can go and just play. You could run clips, but then you can physically play with your clips. And then being a keyboardist, being able to actually go and play something, chords or individual notes, and then maybe put a mellotron on top of a Moog bass line, or throw in some interesting distorted guitars by using the effects chain, because you can chain multiple effects. So it gives you a lot of different combinations, and then you can control like your whole central work system. You can actually use something like an L8 and then introduce a bunch of instruments. Like I think there was a show on YouTube where they showed the professional guys actually using like Tascam 20 and bringing in like modulars and Prophet 5 or some other, like bringing all these keyboards in and then being able to actually kick them off with the sequencer and the structure of the arranger mode to capture performances, or to even just have sequencers free running sequencers from multiple hardware instruments coming into the USB channels, and then have as many MIDI channels coming in, and then controlling everything from the Akai Force to be able to do like a one-man show, which a lot of what we used to do is use a BeatStep Pro to do that. But this is way more elaborate than that. It allows you to do a lot more. And what we like to do is actually record everything except for the vocal onto the Force, including bringing in a modular synth like a Grandmother, because now you can capture it on the audio track, and you can actually have that remember it as long as the synth is hooked up to it. But when you can play it back, and it will play what's on the Moog, what Moog is being triggered by, and then what we do is we capture it into the Zoom R24, and we'll do a mix down, basically control the levels through the mixer on the Akai Force to get the levels we want, and then put that into the Akai Force on like a stereo track, like 2 tracks, like 1 and 2. And then we'll bring in like a vocal track, and we're using this microphone from 512 Audio, which is it's a Skylight microphone from 512 Audio, and we really like it. It's been adding a lot of heft to what we do. We also use a Soyuz launcher on a ZDM1, and we also have a Studio Electronics mic across the side of the room. So we have 3 different types of microphones. And the other thing we used to do, and we still do, is the R24 has microphone profiles where you could do like a C414, SM57, U57, all kinds of cool stuff like that. So at the end of the day, what we are able to do is kind of freeform stream of consciousness, kind of jazz, kind of jam band based type of recording in electronic music. And maybe it's not as tight as what you normally hear from like an EDM or hip hop person, but that's kind of what we want to do. We want to prove that the happy accidents of having things maybe a little less structured, but this gives us more structure than what we had. But we still try to loosen it up by being kind of devious and not actually breaking the rules, by not trying to make everything sound perfect, not trying to have all the rhythms perfect, by actually having some imperfections to actually give character to what we try to do. And that's kind of the point of what expansive sound is. If people want to know why we call ourselves expansive sound, because we dig people like Sun Ra, we like Funkadelic. We're big fans of bands like Joy Division, New Order, Talking Heads, but also, you know, a singer-songwriter like Bob Dylan, a lead guitar player, you know, songwriter like Jimi Hendrix, and a big progressive band like it's like Yes or Genesis. Like the Peter Gabriel Genesis is kind of what we dig the most, and the Syd Barrett, Pink Floyd. And we're big fans of Lou Reed in the Velvet Underground. So yeah, we're kind of all over the place. We love bands like Husker Du and The Clash and Nirvana and Foo Fighters and you know, SST. So you get into a lot of old school stuff on SST. You know, the Replacements, like a favorite, like Let It Be, from the Replacements, not the Beatle album, but the Replacement album. Paul Westerberg is a big favorite. Bob Mould, Grant Hart. We're real big fans of all kinds of punk aesthetic, and we think, like, if you think about a band like Joy Division had a punk aesthetic, like a post-punk new romantic sound that still had punk aspects, still heavy the guitar, and a kind of nihilistic point of view that was a little bit like a Nine Inch Nails before Nine Inch Nails. And that's kind of been our kind of motif, is to kind of have that kind of sound, like a Brian Eno, Berlin, Bowie trip. Not that we're trying to be exactly those people, we're just talking about who we're influenced by. So the next song from this project about our crush, who is Sophie, our St. Petersburg angel, and we're going to do another song from the collection, so we're going to go into the next song and bring it up. This will be coming out in 2022. Right now we only have like 6 or 7 songs. It might be our shortest album. We might keep it that way, or if we write another one in between now and like February, it might add to the project. So we're gonna jump to the next track, and here we go. This one's called Rough VF, once it kicks off.
Sophie is deep as I wanna get that fuck up into your stuff. This is Sophie as I know that just want it rough. Like there was no velvet touch. You can rub it up on love. Rub it up on the love. Rub it up on the love. Girl, like that rough. Sophie is deep in my tongue into your stuff. I know you want love. I know that you want fuck. Your eyes really like love. I know sex is the drug. It makes your pupils go like love. I know sex is the drug. Your pupils wide open and you wanna get that stuff. I know that sex is that type of drug. It gets your pupils wide open and ready for love. You wanna fuck. It's so bad that you're ready for love. Your pupils wide open like you're on a drug. It's quite right, so I can get it in. You know, darling. It is original sin. It's like a pet. Feed dildos in your fingers to a fist. Twisting your heart. Come more than ever. No, ain't no glow. Just so wants to fuck it up. Shit, bang, and two in behind. And look in her eyes. With the mouth open wide, well, come over her thighs. And with the mouth open wide, like glazed and well thighs. 40 glazed look in her eyes. When she kicked it in, ain't no surprise. Something what the fuck it up, boy. I glazed in the 440 haze and legs wide open. I gave. Lies open 440 gaze. Ain't no gate. All that spit in, getting pushed out again. All that spit into a different, getting pushed out by original sin. All that spit into a friend, getting pushed out like an original sin. All that shit is win, is going in again. Look for 40 gaze and look like a ride and smoke out haze. What you feel every day and what you wanna get at hard fuck leg. You hate, baby. You never ever masturbate. With the 448 glaze, look at her eye.
So that was, it's pretty risque, I might say, but we're back and we're talking about our new song, Ascending into Love, and we're actually going to jump to the last song in the project, which we put out, and a lot of these songs are really kind of hypersexual, really sexed up, given the fact that like in hip-hop and rap you can kind of go there, and we decided to go there electronically. And whether or not, you know, the audience wants to go there with us, we've always been with our character of Josephine Electric very much into all kinds of heavy sexual situations in our music, and so it's not inconsistent with what we've been doing since 2016. It's not like we're trying to jump on the bandwagon. Anybody who's listened to Peg and you listen to stuff we put out in 2016, 2017, we've been doing stuff like that back then. Maybe you didn't know. Maybe you don't want to know. But so this album is really kind of sex focused, because we do think sex is part of the love that's in this ascension into love, is that there's a very positive, really active sex life involved in the feelings in this relationship. And so there's nothing wrong with that. It's something that's actually really good. You know, I think a lot of sex therapists would say, you know, if you got a lot of hangups, like, how are you going to have a good relationship? So the idea of this ascendant love is like everything is working. The sex is working, the communication's working, everything's working. It's feeling good. Both partners are feeling not like there's not an alpha and one's doing, you know, the other one harm, that we're both consenting adults and into everything that we're into. So the next song is this other idea of love is a little bit more higher level, and we had this song called L, and L is this idea of, if you actually look up the word, it's like this kind of global idea of a woman or female, and so this idealized concept of, okay, you found the perfect woman, so like this whole song is called L, is like this perfect woman is Sophie, and so Sophie has become L and L is Sophie. And so this idea is that there's this, like, you want this to stay and remain. So the last song is this kind of long 9-minute typical Peg song that's got piano, it's got a D-fam, it's got a Moog, it's got a lot of layers on it, it's got a Mellotron in it. It was originally written as a live cut, and then we overdubbed additional vocals, and then we added, it was done with like the Moog D-fam as the primary beat. It's an analog drum machine and a Moog Brother 32 with a math module trigger and stuff. That's the technical stuff, but it was basically an analog kind of hybrid Juno mixed with actually playing chords on a Juno piano, Roland Juno. Putting that into an R24, bringing it over, re-recording it on the L8 to get it, you know, a higher level of quality, because the headroom on the L8 is really good. As part of Zoom's new recorders, the L8 or the L series actually seem to have a different sound card than what was in the R, and they sound really good. And I've had an R16 and R24, but the L8, even though it has less tracks than my 24 and my 16, when it records at such a high quality. I was like, oh, I gotta use it. So I used it to record like that song. Is like 16 minutes of the original song. We cut it down to 9. And then we sampled it onto the Akai Force. So the Akai Force, we take the whole like 11-minute song, and we bring it in and put it down as an audio track. Then we went and brought in a mellotron, and then I think we added like an electric guitar, heavily distorted. We added electric guitar and the mellotron, and so all those other things were added. And it makes a really interesting performance because it's a combination of analog gear and the Akai Force and sampling, but we sampled ourselves. And that's a technique that we like to do. So this last song we're going to get into for the project, we skipped one of the songs because we wanted to not go too long. We're going to get into it and cue it up. I might have to skip to the next one. Let me see. Yeah, here it is. This is L.
all the time, but it's always alright. It's ascending all the time, because you know it's alright. Looking deep into an Asiatic guy, everything I can. Cause it's ascending, it's always all I can. Cause it's ascending all the time. It will always be mine. It's ascending. I hope you understand. Can never hang up on the line. It's ascending all the time. You never end it. It's all life. It's the way it's sweet like wine. It's never ending. You never hang up on the line. But you're there all the time. It's ascending. It's so fine. It's always alright. It's ascending all the time. It's always alright. In my deep brown eyes, I know that you're mine.
And so we're gonna that's almost the end, but we wanted to cut it off a little bit. So that is the song Ellie. And the thing about that song is like it became like the whole theme of the record because we're calling this Ascendant Love, and you can hear in the kind of refrain at the end of the song came at the when we started doing the overdubs. That it's like it's ascending all the time. It's ascendant all the time. It's always all right. It's kind of this refrain, and it's ascending all the time. It's ascendant all the time. It's always all right. So the idea that this relationship, which is very hypersexual, is really rambunctious, really kind of like a new love. You kind of just going at each other all the time, really, really into it. But there's something beyond that. That is like there's like a romantic love. There's like a friendship. There's something that's like eternal. And so this song kind of ends it, the end of the record, with this 9-minute song that talks about this idea of Sophie being L, the perfect woman, and L is like the perfect concept of the female, protagonist in the whole record. Is the whole idea is I've become totally infatuated with L, or the idea of L, and I found her in Sophie, and Sophie is her, and L is Sophie, and that's the end of the story. That's the concept. So the concept is kind of like what was going on with Precious in ascending into darling mode. And like I said, Precious was like I got catfish, and Precious wasn't even a real person. In that album, we used the Josephine voice. So Josephine was in love with this girl Precious, and she was really and in that album, like Josephine was kind of like, she's her character in the band is that she's very hypersexual, and she really doesn't like to get pinned down into any kind of relationship, but somehow she falls in love with Precious, and then what happens is Precious is kind of not being caring about is Josephine as much as Josephine cares about her, and so Josephine for the first time has gotten really pulled in to the whole idea of it. So ascending into darling mode is just kind of this idea that Josephine wants that, but she's still kind of in a situation where she maybe is not going to get it. She found somebody that's more like herself, and she wants her to change, but Josephine it doesn't really change. So it's like she's trying to aspire to be something that maybe she can't really be. Where in this album, Ascendant Love is this idea that this is what we want it to be. We want it to be something more powerful and more long lasting and something deeper. And it's like both people want to do that because they kind of find themselves and they get really into each other, but it's like it's something that we feel is going to continue and get better and better and ascend. And instead of the idea of falling in love, that you're going to be on the ground, getting drunk and high and getting into a codependency, that's not what it's about. And so that's what the whole concept is. I kind of dithering on about it, but that's what it boils down to with a lot of stuff I write. It's either political or it gets into these romantic situations that creates these concept albums that are about like this particular character or situation. So that's what it is today. We are going to talk about one of our sponsors a little bit more. You can see we're going to bring it up. We have a sponsor called DoubleJack.online. And so if you take your cell phone right now, you scan that scan code, they're a philanthropic online lottery where they give part of the money to charity. And you can take your cell phone and scan. They'll bring you to the site. It's only available outside the U.S., but if you use a VPN, then you could use it in the U.S. But what you can do is you can play Keno, you can play Powerball, and a percentage of the profits goes to charities around the world. And they're based in Germany, but they do this all around the world. And you can immediately win a Keno or a Powerball. And then you also can become like an influence marketer for them and try to get other people to get into it. And then you have benefits that if you get into it, then you get a percentage of every play that people do. And if you go and get other affiliates, then you get percentages of what they do. So it kind of builds up that you can have this sideline of income coming in. You can feel good about it because it also is philanthropic. So we encourage you to check it out. They're a supporter of the podcast. Please check it out. And then one of the other sponsors we've had for a while is Newsly.em, Newsly.me. If you use coupon code GHOST2021, again, coupon code GHOST2021, this is an iOS app that reads the news to you. So what happens is that, the news is read to you and you don't have to go to a site and read it. So you can multitask and listen to articles that get sent to you and then spoken back to you. So if you use that code GHOST2021, you'll get 1 month premium subscription for free on Android and Apple. If you go to www.newsly.me and then use that coupon code, again, GHOST2021, that'll help you out and help us out and support the podcast. And our podcast is being pushed on their program, so check it out. Now, another thing we have is we just got this new sponsor we're going to try to bring up because now we can do like PowerPoints. So there's this, there's a lot of problems in the world with child sex trafficking. And so we've got this partner that we're going to bring up. And let's bring him up, try to get it up. So, so we've got a partner here, and what they do is they sell T-shirts to help stop child sex trafficking or sex trafficking across the world from any kind of people, not just children. And so, what you could do is you buy a T-shirt, and that T-shirt helps you deal with setting up shelters to try to get kids out of the sex trade. So we're gonna bring this up for a second. Yeah. So if you go to that code there, if you use that bit.ly code, and then you use the bit.ly link, and then use code Keith Gittens -Jones, you'll get a discount, and you can buy T-shirts. You can check it out if you go to that site. They have T-shirts and sweatshirts and all kinds of things, merch, and it basically will help stop child sex trafficking, give a safe place to the people that they were trying to help who were involved in this, and it's a really cool thing. We think that's a good thing to check out. I think you should take that link, show it to your friends, and be supportive of people who are trying to stop a really big problem in the world, which is sex trafficking across the world, and we got to do something about it. So here again, we'll keep that up for a little bit. It will be on the replay. We do encourage people to go out there, use that code, and you will get a discount, and you are helping a worthy cause to get people into shelters and get them out of this really horrid thing that is sex trafficking across the world. So that's all we have to say today, and we're going to end with that. And we thank you guys for watching the show. Please check us out and become a supporter of the podcast. You can actually subscribe to us on Anchor FM. Josephine has her own show, and some of those episodes you can subscribe to. And in addition, you can support us on the podcast by going to our SoundCloud and hitting the PayPal me link for COVID-19. We encourage you to do that for any artist that's out there that you dig. If you check out their Spotify and SoundCloud, there's the COVID-19 buttons for bands that can't tour. We encourage you, not just for us, but if you love a band and you haven't been able to see them, you can help them out like you help YouTubers out by giving them donations. There's PayPal me COVID-19 links on Spotify and SoundCloud for the favorite artist you like. Go check it out on Spotify and SoundCloud, any artist, not just us. But it's there for us too, but we're just saying any artist today in this time with Omicron and all the other stuff that's going on, help out artists and hit that button, and you can give whatever you want. It's just a one-time thing. So you give $1, you can give $10, you give $100, $1,000, whatever, to any artist that you really dig, and you want to keep them going. So when this whole thing ends, that you actually have a band you can watch and hear and play and do another record. So we'll talk to you later. Thank you much for listening to The Ghost.